And we do have our closed captioning on this morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all, and we will jump right into this. All right, does everybody see there? Perfect. Drew, will you continue to let individuals in as they come into the chat room? Sorry, my computers are far away from each other, and so my one screen is over here, and I'm looking directly at the presentation. So this morning, thanks again for joining us. It is our April Lunch and Learn. These do typically run from 11 to 12:30. We've got a lot of information to share with you guys today, and I'm sure that you'll find it very useful. Jumping into our itinerary, I'm just going to give you a quick background of our workforce at the Chamber, how we got to where we are, and the challenges that we are working to address. Then we're going to hear from Drew Camp, who is our CEO, and he'll give you some updates on other chamber programs that you can participate in and some legislative issues that they're working on. He will turn it back over to me, and I can give you some current and future workforce programs. Again, being a part of the Council Bluffs Chamber, you are more than welcome to take part of those as well as invite others to participate in these programs. We're then going to hear from Cindy, who is the owner of our monthly sponsor this month, and our monthly sponsor is going to be Service Master Restore. Our guest speaker is going to be Rise. I met with Rise a couple months ago, and they've got an amazing program that I'm really excited for you guys to hear about and hopefully participate in to help with your workforce. And then we will turn that over for some Q&A with our monthly sponsor and our guest speaker. So the workforce challenges. In about 2018, a group of HR managers got together, sent out some surveys, did some studying, and realized that there are really four workforce challenges that they wanted the chamber to kind of start to address. The first one is of those associates that participated in the survey, they were experiencing about a 33% turnover. So how do we help them reduce that turnover percent to be less than 10%? Saving them costs, of course, and making their workforce more robust. The next there is out of those that can work in Council Bluffs, about 66% of them are working. So what can we do to increase our labor force or increase the number of adults in Council Bluffs that are participating in the workforce? Brain gain. Out of the survey that was conducted, it was estimated that less than 40% of adults that are in the workforce have either secondary education or training after high school. And then also they came to the conclusion there were less than 10% of our businesses in Council Bluffs had fully funded apprenticeship programs. So what can we do to increase those programs? And in doing so, also help that brain gain of our workforce. So they came up with what they called their ecosystem. It is our workforce ecosystem. And one of them was to create our lunch and learns, which you are all participating in today. And we appreciate that. The purpose of our lunch and learns is to get you guys some really great information of our businesses in our area that can provide either services, professional development, or tools and resources that you need to make your worlds easier, to make your workforce more robust, and to help with that retention factor. One of the programs that we want to participate in is the ACT's Work Ready Communities. With our Work Ready Communities, you will have a pipeline of workers ready to come to work for you that have their National Career Readiness Certification. That NCRC is something that is provided to them for free through Iowa. It really helps you hire the right individual first that has the basic skill set needed to jump into that job and start learning the actual skills of that position. And so we will talk about that a little bit more. The next thing that we wanted to tackle is a best places to work program. What does that look like? How do we help employers really get in touch with what the workforce and their culture is of their workforce, and ensure that they've got a culture that employees want to stay at. They don't want to leave, so that we can help reduce that turnover. And so we were able to produce our unbelievable workplaces. Out of that, there were 16 awarded businesses, and so we will share that information with you shortly. That did start at the beginning of the year. The businesses that participated received a unique employee engagement satisfaction survey. They sent that out to their employees. They had to have at least 60% of their employees respond to that. And then as long as they were at 75% or above that benchmark, they were then awarded that Best Places to Work program. So we will dive into that. And then the last is our work lab initiatives. We really want to educate you guys on the GROW program over in Omaha, which is the Work Labs and of Bridges Out of Poverty, so that you guys know the resources that are available to you that you can provide to your associates that allows them to stay at work and stay focused at work while they're with some resources to help them with their home life. So next, we're going to go ahead and hear from Drew Camp, our president and CEO, and I'm going to exit out of the slideshow just so you can see him a little larger.
Thanks, Alicia. And just to provide a kind of a brief update on some things that are happening at the Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce, I'll hit on some of the key areas that we're really focusing on currently, and we have been for several months now. And we'll start with the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. We have a couple of things that I want to make sure I touch on and make you all aware of. Tonight, we are kicking off our first event. We'll have events each quarter as part of the Women Empowering Women events in the steering committee that Kim Boothie within our staff is overseeing. And Brooke Hubbard, who's also our board chair and owns the Hub and some other businesses throughout the community. She's the presenting sponsor and also kind of helping spearhead our efforts with that steering committee. But we have an event tonight actually at the Country Club from 5:30 to 7. There's both in-person and Zoom options available. And it's based on work-life balance. So that's the first one that we'll have. And as I mentioned, those events will be had each quarter going forward, and there'll be different topics and timely, obviously, and we'll have speakers that can address those issues from their own personal experience, both personally and professionally. Another piece on that front, on the diversity, equity, and inclusion front, is the Executive Women's Partnership. That's something we're really excited to get rolled out here, and we're just actually announcing here this week that we have our first event. You have to meet some qualifying criteria, as you can imagine, as part of the Executive Women's, as far as what your role is within your respective organization. But on May 10th at Tish's, we're actually going from 11:30 to 1, and Director Debbie Durham from Iowa Economic Development Authority and Iowa Finance Authority is going to join us and talk a little bit about what it takes to be a successful businesswoman from her perspective. If you haven't met Debbie or know her, she's very dynamic and very energetic, so she'll be a very good person to kind of kick us off for that first conversation. On another front too, a big piece of what we do is, events also amongst a lot of other things. And Kim has been planning now, since we had to push back due to COVID considerations, and we'll continue to obviously have with any in-person events we have mitigation measures in place. But we are going to have our annual event on May 6th at the MAC in the convention space, in the arena, so we're really looking forward to getting some people together. As I mentioned, we'll continue to have public health measures and safety measures put in place, similar to what we did back at our mid-year back in September, but we are excited to offer that to our members as well. As far as our impact programming for young professionals, we do have an event coming up in May. It's to be determined, but it's really going to be focused on community engagement, and it's going to talk about how you can get involved in your community, whether it's volunteering or boards and commissions. We think that's a really good thing to make sure we're putting on young people's and young leaders' radar to make sure that they know what is available there. They may not want to run for public office, but there's plenty of opportunities to be involved in your community on a board and commission at the county or city level. So we want to make sure they're aware of that, and we're going to provide them that opportunity with that event. On the workforce front, Alicia has done a really good job with the New and Emerging Leaders Program, the Professional Development and Leadership Programming. We had that back in March, heard good things as a result from attendees and participants. We're also having another one that's already sold out in June, as you know as well, because she's talked about it obviously with this group. But we'll continue to kind of work with Business Ethics Alliance going forward as there is demand there, because we know that, like I said, it's been a positive resource to our members and to our community who have participated. So we want to continue to provide that resource to them. Another piece as well that's very important, obviously, as Alicia outlined since we started this back in about 2018, is obviously continued sustainable funding sources. So whether it's the sponsorships, which we've graciously and generously been able to accept from some of our private partners, we also have some nonprofit and public dollars that we're looking at gathering as well. We're receiving the rest of our grant disbursement from the Iowa West Foundation here in the coming week. And that's something obviously that we're very excited about. They helped to obviously kind of cultivate this and kind of build up the program with some funding through that grant. So we're really excited to get that funding brought in to help expand our operations within the workforce development footprint, but then also look forward about what we may be able to apply for going forward from them as well. And then we're also working with the city and the county for some public dollars as well, which is really important to help move a program like this forward. On the legislative side, there's a lot of issues we're watching. I won't dive into them deeply. Some of the big ones are housing, broadband, tax increment financing, medical malpractice, tech censorship and mental health. There's an omnibus bill that Senator Dawson actually put out that we're watching with that. Some of them we want to move forward, some of them we do not want to move forward, but there's a lot of effort and time getting put into that as well. On the federal side, policy-wise, we're really watching the community project applications that are available to Congress to essentially earmarks, if you recall those from about a decade ago. So we're really partnering with community organizations, public, private, nonprofit, to make sure that we're really putting our best foot forward and that we have the necessary support to move our projects hopefully forward with the appropriations process, because Congresswoman Axne can only put forward 10 for her entire district. And then we're also working on infrastructure, because that's a big thing, obviously, that's getting talked about at the federal level. So we're really trying to pull people together on that front as well. The last thing I'll touch on is business retention and expansion. It's very, very important, because as we do our business retention and expansion surveys and our efforts and reach out and talk to our existing industries, a lot of the time, some of the concerns we hear are predominantly related to workforce. So it's really, really important that we're getting out and talking to those. We're partnering with Advanced Southwest Iowa and Paula Hazelwood on that. But we're going to get some really good information from those surveys, whether it is over the phone, over Zoom, over email, or in person with some select organizations. It just depends on what they're doing right now within their respective entities. But we look forward to getting out and talking to them, because we'll get really good information that will help this group as well as others within our organization. So thank you for giving me the chance to update everyone, Alicia, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. I really appreciate it. All right. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and jump back in and share my screen with you so that we can move into some of the programming that we have available right now with Workforce through the Chamber, and then some future programming that we will be rolling out soon. Let me share my screen with you here. All right. Can you guys all see my screen? Is it large enough that you guys can see it without me making it presentable? Is it large enough for you guys? Perfect. It helps me a little bit that I don't have to try to view two screens at the same time. So I wanted to give you guys some workforce updates. As we chatted about at the very beginning, some of the challenges that we were facing is how do we help employers reduce that turnover? What do we do to help our to increase our workforce? What do we do to help increase the training or education of those in the workforce? And how do we then also increase our fully funded apprenticeship programs? And so one of those models that we looked at was that ACT being a recognized business. And I do want to chat with you about that first. And so we will jump into that. After we chat about the ACT Work Ready communities, I'm going to talk with you a little bit about our professional development opportunities. Drew touched on them a little bit, but we did have our first workshop series, which was a four-part workshop series in March for new and emerging leaders. It was a great program, and we really had a great mix in that room of some seasoned leaders and also some truly new and emerging leaders in the workforce, and both of them found the program to be very informative and that they took things away from that. So we're excited to continue to roll it out and to provide some new opportunities. And then I want to chat with you about a new initiative that will be taking place in Council Bluffs. It's going to be called our Healthy Hometowns. So next, though, we will just jump into our Work Ready communities. This is something that we've been working on since November. We declared that we are going to light up Pottawatomie County, which means that we were declaring that we are going to work towards becoming a work-ready community. Again, this is a free program. It's free to your businesses, and it's free to those that want to get their NCRC. And what the NCRC is an aptitude test that goes through 3 critical areas that your workers should have ready for them when they come into your workforce, so that you know that they're ready with the skills that they need to actually start learning the fundamentals of the position that you've hired them for. So it allows you to hire the right person right out of the gate, so you're not just putting the wrong person in the wrong position. With that being said, there are some goals that we had to hit in order to become a work-ready community. We had to have the correct number of current NCRC holders in the workforce and emerging NCRC holders in the workforce. And then we had to get 128 businesses to say that they recognize the NCRC. And what that means is, again, if you have an applicant that comes to you and on their resume they say that they are an NCRC holder, you're saying that yes, you've been educated about what the NCRC is, you can accept the NCRC, and you're going to use that to make sure that that associate is best suited for the position that you're hiring for. And the ACT actually did a great job in creating a video for us. It kind of goes over this with you guys. So I just want to share that with you now. I'm going to make this larger just so you can see that. Let's see here. Hopefully you can hear it. All right, guys, let's see here. Were you guys able to hear that? I'm sorry, when I was opening it up, I could not read any comments. If you guys were not able to read that, that's something that I will send out to you guys as a follow-up to this. It really, again, is a quick overview of what the program is and how you guys can quickly participate in it. To learn more, again, you can jump right in here to this workreadycommunities.org/Iowa/I5 or 155. That is actually for Potawatomi County. You can see some of the other businesses that have already participated, and you can see the number of NCRC holders that Potawatomi County has. Currently, there are over 5,000 individuals in the workforce or emerging into the workforce out of high school or college that are NCRC holders. So if you have a position that you really are struggling to fill and find that right person that you can keep in that position, jumping into the NCRC and making sure that you have a job profile of what an NCRC holder should have in order to be successful in that position is something that really could help you start to look for the right person to get put in that place right out of the gates. All right, and so we'll move on to our professional development workshops. A poll was taken of over 1 million workers by Gallup, and they discovered that the number one reason that 75% of those workers left was the leadership. And so we really have worked hard to make sure that at the chamber we're providing you guys with some professional development opportunities to ensure that you're leading your leaders correctly and that your leaders are leading your frontline workers and the best with their best foot forward. We want to make sure that they have the skills they need to be a leader. A lot of times when we get promoted into leadership roles, it's because we were a superstar at our position. And so we go from being an entry-level positioned worker that's a superstar to being now a leader of people. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, don't have the training available to them to then get that leader some actual professional development or some schooling on being a leader of people and what that looks like. So we did work with Business Ethics Alliance, like Drew mentioned, on creating a program called New and Emerging Leaders. And it really went through what it means to be an organizational leader, how to set goals and visions for your team, how to build a strong and robust team, and how to make sure that they stay inside that workforce. So it was a 4-part workshop. So it was 4 4-hour sessions through the month of March. We did sell out the course. We only allowed it to 30 people. That way there we can mind our social distancing and kind of the CDC guidelines right now due to the pandemic, but also so we can make sure it was a very hands-on program with our instructor, Casey from Business Ethics Alliance. Great feedback from that program. We're really excited to move into our June program, and that program is sold out as well. What we did hear, though, from some of those individuals that were in the class was that they wished that we didn't call this New and Emerging Leaders because some of them were seasoned leaders and they took away a lot of great information. And while we value that, we really want to make sure that we do have a program that's available for new leaders to really give them that next level leadership point of view and some skills that they can use to kind of get out of the worker mode and get into the leader mode. But we did talk with Business Ethics Alliance, and we are currently working on our next workshop series, which we believe will be just a 2-part series because we really are looking at that higher management. We are kind of aiming towards that next level leadership. So if you are a seasoned leader, whether that be that you've been in your role for a couple of years to 20 years, this is going to be professional development for you. We're really going to dive deep into the 5 levels of leadership, and how you can advance yourself to that next leadership will be one whole day. And then how do you advance the leaders that you're leading to that next leadership level so they can make the best for their team? So please stay tuned for some details on that. The workshop is still kind of being built up. And so we will have hopefully some information very soon. Let's see here. Oh, Donna just said that she loves Business Ethics Alliance. I do too. I think they're great. And their new facilitator, Casey's pretty amazing. He's been doing this for many years. So I'm really excited to partner with Casey. And just so you guys know, like he is actually writing this program for the chamber because the conversations that we had with that first group and conversations that I've had with him about what the chamber's desires are for our next leadership programming. So again, we will have information very soon for that, but he is writing that information up now. All right. So we chat a lot about our workforce and what the culture of that looks like. I'm sure that many of you saw either in the paper, in one of our press releases, or in our brief conversation earlier, our new Best Places to Work program, which did award 16 businesses with that badge of honor as one of the unbelievable workplaces of Council Bluffs. We really believe that having a healthy work site is another step to making sure that you've got a culture that your associates want to work in, and that they feel valued, not as a worker, but as a person. And so the 712 initiative started working with Wellmark on what they call the Healthy Hometowns. And so it's really a 4-part series that looks at schools, it looks at your grocery stores, your retail stores, and your workplace, and then just your community. And what elements do we have available to us to make sure that we individually are healthy and that we're making sure that our families are healthy. And so we want to invite anybody on this call and anybody else that you think that should be at the table to our first worksite committee meeting, which will be on April 22nd. It'll be at 11 a.m. After today's lunch and learn, you guys will all get an invitation to that you can register for. Please feel free to forward that on to anybody that you think that would be interested in joining this. We really want to dive into the work culture and find out what businesses do actually focus on some health aspects for their employees and what that looks like. Do they provide them with the opportunity to bike to work, to walk while they're at work, to get some exercise while they're at work? Do you guys give them discounts to gym memberships? Do you provide healthy food options in the vending machine? There's a lot of information that we want to collect to see where everybody's at right now. And then we're going to really dive into what can we do as a community to make it even better and to take that next step at worksite. So again, there will be some more information that will come out of that, and we're excited for you guys all to join us. With that being said, I think we are right on time to move into our monthly sponsor, and this month's monthly sponsor is Service Master Restore, and we've got Cindy with us. Cindy, you do have sharing capabilities, so you can share your PowerPoint. She's got a really great PowerPoint available for you guys. And she's going to go through some of the services that she can provide for your business, for yourself personally, or for your associates. Cindy, I'm going to stop sharing so that you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, there we go. I am off mute. I am not gonna lie, I've never shared my screen, so I don't even know how to do this.
At the bottom, Cindy, there's a little green arrow that just says share screen. You're going to click that and click on your slides.
Okay, it's a PowerPoint presentation, so at the bottom where, I'm sorry.
At the bottom of the Zoom screen right now, you'll see share screen. It's a green button. And you just click that, and then you'll click your PowerPoint.
You know what? I don't know where I'm at.
Okay.
Oh, share screen. Here we go.
Got it?
Hopefully, let's see if we got this. Sorry, you guys. This is kind of all new to me. Can you see this?
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. All right. Well, first of all, I have to apologize. I have a new computer, and I thought this had a camera, but it doesn't. So we'll be getting one soon. But anyway, my name is Cindy Schmader. My husband and I own ServiceMaster Restore by Schmader. We are locally owned and operated. We are a franchise, but it is locally owned and operated. And basically what we do, we are a water and fire disaster restoration company. What is ServiceMaster Restore? We do commercial and residential services. And after a disaster in your home or your business, you need immediate support from the experts you can count on. Why ServiceMaster Restore by Schmader? We have 18 years of experience restoring homes and businesses from water and fire, mold. There's other things that we do as well. We do hoarding. Our methods, our corporate methods, I should say, are so rigorous that we have to follow, that we actually help set the standards for the entire industry, restoration industry. One of the guys at our corporate offices does sit on the IICRC board, which is kind of the board that guides us through our processes and what we do, things we can do, things we can't do in your homes, or shouldn't do, I should say, in your homes. A little bit about me. I've lived in Council Bluffs my entire life. We actually own an acreage off from Highway 92, or actually probably in between Trainer and Council Bluffs. I graduated from Lewis Central in 1979. My husband is an Omaha boy. I transplanted him over to Iowa back in probably 1983-ish. He graduated from Creighton Prep High School. We were married in 1985. We had our first child in 1987. As of today, we sit with 3 children, 9 grandchildren. We have 1 on the way. I'm a member of the Chamber, CBBC, which is a networking group. We meet on Monday mornings at the Chamber when it's open, or when it will be open, we'll be back. I'm a member of Optimist and Rotary. Heavily involved in Spirit of Courage, Wheels of Courage. We've got some charities in Nebraska that we're also involved in, but I only listed the Iowa ones. Know what to expect when the unexpected happens. As you guys can see, and you probably know, that our business is not, it's pretty labor intensive. It's very hands-on. You know, when we talk about, I hear Alicia talk about work ready. We could be, and I will be looking into this, a work ready business. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have a college education to work for us. We do train people on site. In fact, we actually like people that have not worked for a restoration company, because then we can train you our ways of doing things. But when things happen, you always need a professional to guide you. When there's water loss, you try to get as much water out as you can. Try to get things, windows and doors opened. If it's the summertime or winter, please don't open the doors and windows. That doesn't help us any. But when there's a fire, here's kind of, I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. this is, and if any of you have ever experienced a fire or had a neighbor, friend, family member, you know how damaging it is. This is one, this house was not salvageable at all. The next one was not as well. But then we also have those grass fires. Grass fires will lead to smoke in your homes. They'll lead to, other things. We have a lot of processes that we follow, and a lot of those processes are driven by the insurance company. After a fire, we have what we call a chem sponge. We go in with this sponge. You can see the dark areas here on the chem sponges. Those we wipe on the wall or rub on the wall. Those chem sponges are actually from this room. So we rub those on the wall. We see how much soot there is on the wall. We take pictures of them. We turn that into the insurance company. So that tells them that we are actually cleaning a room that is dirty and that we're not just making it up. Here's a chem sponge in action. This is actually inside a garage fire, a door from a garage. This is the ceiling. They're using the chem sponge to actually wipe that soot off the wall. And I'm just going to go through these kind of fast because these are just fires. The one on the picture on your left was this is a tablet that an older child was trying to hide from a baby sister, put it between the mattress and the box spring, it overheated and started this house on fire. So that's the same thing here, just more damage from that fire. This is the upstairs of that basement. So you can see that our job is very labor intensive. This is the entryway coming into the house, going down the stairs. That is downstairs. That was an area downstairs. Here's just another picture of a fire. There's also, like this house here was a garage fire. We demoed it. After we demoed it, we could see that the soot and the smoke had actually gone up into the attic. So that's the pictures you see here is of the soot damage. So now we will get up there and we'll clean that area. We will actually, here's your soot damage on your insulation. That insulation will be pulled out. The attic will be cleaned. We will seal coat it then so that there's no issues with smell come August or July or August when it's hot and humid outside. This is actually an urn that we pulled out of a garage fire. It was black as night, you can see to the left, and we've actually got a chemical that brought it back to the picture on the left there. And again, these are all, everything we do can be done. We have a guy that works for us right now that didn't graduate from high school. He didn't want to go get his GED, doesn't want to go to college, didn't really know what he wanted to do with his life, started working for us. This is stuff that we can teach you. Like I said, it's very labor intensive, but you do not need a degree to work for us. Here's another garage fire. You can obviously see that. Here's the seal coating that we do after a fire. We go in and we just paint everything with an oil-based paint. Just make sure there's no smell or anything later. We have water damage. We have different, the far left is a picture of a meter.
Yep, Cindy, you muted yourself, ma'am.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good to go now. You muted it right when you clicked the water damage slide.
Okay, sorry. So the picture on the far left is a meter. That is what we use to go around your home and try to figure out where the water is. And as you can see, there is I don't know if you can tell, there's a red mark at the top. So it goes green, yellow, and red. Obviously, yellow or red is wet. If it's in the green, you don't have any, you just keep going. Middle picture is some of our equipment. They're blowers, dehues that we use to dry your home. And the picture at the far right is a picture of a wood floor drying system. And it's what we use to dry wood floors out. guiding your clients from chaos to calm. This is just a slick sheet that we have that we can provide to you, that you can provide to any of your clients or your workers, that if you do have a loss or if they do have a loss, it kind of just guides them through what steps to take and what order to take them in. One of the other things we do, this is a water loss. One of the other things that our team does is if we have a room that is not completely wet, we will take the blue tape, as you can see here, and we mark what is wet. We'll take a picture of it. We send it to the adjuster so that they know what part was wet, what part wasn't wet, and what we needed to do and why we did it. Here you can see the blue tape on the right on the walls. That tells the adjuster when we take a picture that that wall is wet, so it needs to be dried. Here's your wood floor. This is the wood floor that we were actually drying up above with that floor system. You can see on the right, in between the planks, the darker, that's the water. The water has gone in there. Your wood is actually starting to cut a little bit. So then we're going to come back in. We're going to place this system, and that actually pulls the water out of the floor and dries it. And again, these are all things that we can teach you how to do. So if you know someone that is looking for a job that's, says, oh, I can't do that. I don't have an education. Send them our way. We are super busy. We are looking for help. And I promise you anybody can do this. So here's a little bit of water coming from an outside source coming in. Actually, this is in a basement. We're looking up at the floor. So you can see how it's hitting that beam and then it's going across and it's coming down the wall. Here's water that came from an upstairs bathroom on the left, and on the right, it came from a roof leak. Actually, it was an ice jam, came in, and that's the tape line, the joint line. The water is actually collecting there. Here's more water coming from outside. And then we also do mold. Mold is a little trickier, but we do teach you in-house how to do mold. Here's mold in that, let me go back a little bit. Do you see here, see that insulation there? This is the mold that is in that cavity because somebody didn't pull it out and get it dried correctly. Here again is mold, and we do all the restoration on this. This is a wall that was framed out and insulated, but it wasn't properly, didn't have a vapor barrier. So you have mold between your insulation and your wall. It's actually on the brick wall. This was these people had a new roof put on their home, and unbeknownst to them, it wasn't, the flashing wasn't correct. So every time it rained, it came down the corner of their wall and it soaked their wood floor, or not wood floor, the subfloor, hence ruining their carpets. They've got mold. You can see the mold here along this. We actually had to cut this floor out and actually had to be replaced. We also do board ups. So anybody that knows construction, or a little bit about construction. So we do board ups, fire storms, weather related. Here we also do hoarders. We go in and we actually clean up hoarders. This actually happens to be one that was kind of forced. It was a fire project at a hoarder's house, and we actually have to go in and we have to clean it up. We do the inventory for the insurance company, which gets kind of tricky once in a while, but we work with the homeowner, and with this hoarder, there is no option. Obviously, it has to be cleaned up. They don't get to tell us they don't want to do it or they need to save this or save that. There's no option. It is burnt beyond recognition, a lot of this stuff, and it just has to go. But in saying that, we do have to be careful. It is their home, it is their stuff, so you have to be super careful what you're doing with it and how you're handling it. Here's one here. where this is just a hoarder. I am working with this guy. I work with him 2 hours every week. I go in. And again, this is stuff that people can learn and we can teach, but you have to really be careful of the people's psyche, if you will. This man does not want to get rid of anything. And you can see in some of the other pictures, they really need to get rid of some stuff. But we are working little by little, and we're getting stuff out of his home. And at some point, he will be able to have services in his home through an agency here in town, and he'll be safe. And that's the bottom line. That's what matters. We do sewage backups. I'm going to run through these kind of fast because some of them are kind of gross. Back up the drain, backed up from this is the drain. It came around the corner. Toilet backed up. This is carpet. This is a story sewage in the carpet. So it's got to go. We have to tear it out. There's some flooding. I threw some of these in just because when it flooded, it was kind of unique. You guys can tell that is that's Harris there. I'm standing on a bridge. This is down in Nebraska, or no, I'm sorry. I was coming across 34 down south. This is the bridge there. If you go across this one here on the left, I was going into Bellevue, and that's still how high the water was. The one on the right, that one's kind of scary. If you can see the water, it was pretty much up to the road and coming onto the road. We were working in Hamburg and needed some stuff, so I ran over to Nebraska City to the Ace Hardware to grab it. And on my way back, and it was raining, and the water was actually rising. It was at parts of my drive, it was in the middle of the road, and I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. It was pretty scary. I'll never do that again. Here's after the flood, some of the cleanups that we did. You see all the stuff that left behind, how damn everything is just gone. Here's one that I actually walked through that we pumped out. It had 2 to 3 inches of, feet of water. We actually had to pump it out. This picture on the right is pretty interesting. This is their movie room. And what you can't see because the water is all one level is at a point, there are 4 steps that go down about another 3 feet. So there's a lot of water in this house. We do tile cleaning. And again, this is all stuff we can show people, and it's all on-site training. So the picture on the left is before, the picture on the right is an after. One of the things that I always tell people is review your policies annually with your agents. There is nothing worse than having a loss and you get stuck or you get caught with no insurance coverage. I go in and talk to my agent, not as often as I should. Usually it's when I need something, but it is always a good idea to at least call them when your policies are sent out to you. Review your policies, make sure that you have the coverage you need. You know, I even have in the last few years, and mainly probably because I do what I do, I will go through and read and see what riders I have. Do you have a backup of sewer and drain policy? Because if you don't, and you have a backup, you may not have coverage. Do you have earthquake insurance? Which I know sounds kind of dumb, but we've felt earthquakes here a few times. So if you have an issue with your home, do you have that coverage? It's not a lot, but talk to your agents and see if you have it. Do you have flood insurance? Some of us live in a floodplain, some of us don't, but do you have the proper coverage? And ask the questions. Are my contents covered? Is it just my structure? You know, ask those questions of your agent. They will know, and they'll be able to tell you. I will leave you with this. This is our number, Service Master Restore by Schmader. This is our Potawatomi County location. We also own Washington County and Douglas County. That is in Nebraska. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Cindy. If you want to just click, it should be at the top of your screen. It'll say stop sharing, like a little red button.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cindy. I appreciate it. Great job. If you've never done that before, you did a great job sharing your screen and walking through those slides with us. Really appreciate that. And guys, this is great information for you to share with your associates as well. Like we said, one of our goals is to really figure out how to either help you guys work with GROW, which is the Omaha Work Lab Initiative, or with Bridges Out of Poverty. If you have a lot of entry line associates or associates that live at that poverty level or below, these things may be happening to them at home and they don't know how to take care of them and they don't know where to turn to. So sometimes if you're able just to provide them with some information in a break room, leave some of these flyers, leave some information of like, if life happens, here's some stuff that you can do, some resources that you have available. That goes a long way in them knowing that you really value them as a person and not just as a worker, and that your job is there to help them. As we all know, work and life are not actually separated. I know for a long time it was pounded into our head. You keep work at work and you keep home at home, and that just is not possible. If you are flooded at home, you are thinking about it at work, I promise you're not focused. So it's great just to have Cindy's contact information so that if something's happening, you guys can reach out to her. And I will be sharing Cindy's slides with you just so you guys can take a deeper look into that. Cindy shared with you guys a lot of residential information, but she absolutely does do commercial properties as well. I believe that one of those tile jobs that she showed maybe looked like a kitchen of some sort, like a commercial kitchen. So keep that in mind if you guys have got issues at your businesses, that she is somebody that's available. She's local. She's going to work with you directly to make sure that your business is back up and running, that it's a safe place for yourself and for your associates. So thank you, Cindy, so much for being our sponsor this month and for sharing that information with us. We now are going to move into, actually, I'm going to take a timeout real quick. And I just want to give you guys a quick poll. Oh, it logged me out of the poll. Isn't that something? Let's see. My poll is inactive, it says. I don't know why it's telling me that. Judy, can you click poll? Is there a poll there for you? So that I logged into a different account.
Yeah, I'm seeing it pulled up for me.
Perfect. Can you just go ahead and run it? Guys, I'm going to do a quick poll. We are really hoping that in July we can go back to in person. Fingers crossed, right? Does everybody want to go back to in person? I know there are days that I struggle with not seeing enough people in my life. I'm a very extroverted person, and so I'm like, I just need people. So anyways, we are hoping that in July we'll be back in person. Drew's going to launch a poll for you guys. If you guys can just take it for us. It's just going to ask, if we go in person in July, are you interested in attending in person? And then also, if there is actually a lunch, it's $10, something that's a reasonable cost for you guys once a month to come sit with us, meet some local resources available for you and your workforce, some tools, it's professional development, and to get lunch with us. So if you guys can answer that, I would appreciate it. Drew will give me those surveys, I believe, at the end. And that would be fantastic. Did you launch that, Drew?
Yeah, I did launch it, and then I'm downloading it now. You want me to relaunch it?
Oh, no, that's fine. I didn't see, but it's probably because I'm on your account. So that's perfect. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Again, at the end of this, I will share my slides with you, which includes the ACT quick video that I apologize you guys couldn't hear very well. I'm going to have to run through and figure out why my computers aren't sharing that correctly. And then I will share Cindy's information. But I now want to turn it over to our guest speakers. I met with Chantel. Chantel 2 months ago. They have got an amazing program, super inspiring, great resource for you guys, especially to fill out some of your employment opportunities that you may have. You guys can probably work with them. And I'm really excited for them to present to you guys what RISE is. And how it can be just a positive impact on our community and on your workforce. So I will turn it over to you guys. Feel free to share your screen. You both have co-host capabilities now.
Great. Thank you so much, Alicia. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for including us in your meeting today. My name is Chantel Randall, and I am the Volunteer Relations Manager at a nonprofit in Nebraska by the name of RISE. I don't know if any of you have heard of us, so I'm going to kind of just give you a quick overview of our program and what we do. And then my colleague, Eduardo Gardia, has also joined us today. He's RISE's employment specialist. So he'll really be able to just kind of talk to you about the importance of second chance hiring and the benefits and the reasons why that your company would benefit from giving someone an opportunity at employment as they're coming out of incarceration. So for the sake of time and just being cognitive of the long meeting you've already had, I'm going to spare you the slides and ask that Alicia can maybe email those to those of you that are interested to look through, and you can have that information ready. So again, RISE is a nonprofit that works in 7 out of the 10 prison facilities in the state of Nebraska. We have yet to work in Iowa. However, being a neighbor with you guys, we do have people that come out of incarceration in Nebraska and live in Council Bluffs and work in Council Bluffs. So it's still really relevant to your community and to your businesses. Our program is a 6-month in-prison program that is offered to all individuals that are incarcerated in the prisons. What it looks like is the first 3 months we call foundations. It's all about those soft skills, that employment readiness piece, dealing with things like guilt and shame, parenting, rebuilding relationships. A lot of our participants, they become involved in the criminal justice system as youths. So they maybe have never filled out an application or written a resume or even know what that looks like. So that's where I have the opportunity at the end of those 3 months to invite individuals like yourselves to come in with us and spend a day pre-pandemic, spend a day in one of our institutions with some of our participants whom we call builders. So what that would look like is from about 8 to 3 in the afternoon, I would invite people in. We spend this great day in this event space. For lack of better words, kind of like rounds of speed dating, if you will. You will have 7 minutes to review a resume, to review a cover letter, a business ideation, and give feedback to our builders on how they can strengthen those things. When you're incarcerated in Nebraska, you do not have access to the internet. So doing things like research on how to start a business or how to write a business plan is something that can be extremely challenging. So that's where people like yourselves get to step in and provide that information. We also spend the day sharing lunch and fellowship and just experiencing some empathy building exercises that really just kind of shifts a lot of paradigms on not only the volunteer coming in on what incarceration is like and who is incarcerated, but also for our participants. And just the fact that there are people in the community that are willing to give them a second chance and to help them as they are getting ready to re-enter back into the community. So as you can imagine, it's an extremely just rewarding day for all people involved. Towards the end of our 6-month program, that's when we're really going to start. We've already dealt with this inward stuff for the first 3 months. Now we're really going to focus on employment readiness and entrepreneurship. So our founder and CEO, Jeremy Bowman, who worked for Creighton for many, many years and actually comes from New York, he started volunteering as a lay clergy with his church and speaking with men in the Douglas County Corrections and jail. And what he was realizing, the more and more men that he met, kind of the common denominator was men were unemployed at the time they committed their crimes. So while we know that a job is not an end all to incarceration and to crime, but we have really noticed that if someone has meaningful and gainful employment, they're least likely to make those decisions and get caught up in those snowball effects that leads to incarceration and recidivism. So we are very passionate about training people while they are incarcerated and getting those connections to the community bridged and really just helping people to realize their potential and their strengths. So when they are ready to come out, we have these relationships with existing employers and the communities to really just plug people into these jobs that they can make a livable wage and support their families. And it just really helps to jumpstart people into making different choices in those changes into their lives. So those last 3 months, that's what we're really focusing on, making somebody employer ready, making someone start to really realize that they're, they can transform their hustle, if you will. If you think about it, people that have been involved in crime, things such as selling drugs or just some of those crimes that really takes a skill set, right? That is really crucial to being a good business person. So we really help them to recognize those strengths, but really emphasize using them for legal gains and legal employment. One of the ways we do that is to graduate our program. Everyone that participates must have a business plan and pitch to people in the community. So if you've ever watched Shark Tank, that's a lot like what our graduation looks like. So I invite, again, people from the community to come in and serve as judges on a panel to just spend the day, the morning before lunch, hearing business pitches of our participants. During that time, our judges get to score and come up with the top 5 by lunchtime. So at lunchtime, we stop, friends and families come in, we share lunch, and then we get to hear the top 5 pitch again. And that's where everyone gets to vote on the top 5 business ideas. And IOUs of award money is actually awarded then during this time for people to use upon their release from their institutions. They can use this money to start their own business, or they can use it for basic needs, things like putting money down on rent, or for a halfway house, or for getting your driver's license, or whatever that looks like for you. We know that starting a business is challenging in the best case circumstances. So we have actually started a Rise Business Academy for our graduates, and actually we've opened it to the community at large. So this is where I can offer people in Council Bluffs the opportunity to get involved with our program. We have opened it up now to anyone who has a felony conviction or a criminal background. If they are interested and they are in the community and going through reentry, they can plug into our 12-week business course, where we actually have small business mentors come and just tell everybody all the ins and outs of starting their own business. And we have grant money that's been awarded to us for micro business loans. The whole idea with starting your own business as a felon is, again, it's hard to find a job. It's extremely hard to find a job with that felony conviction. And you have to check that little box on a job application in Nebraska before you even get an interview. And so you can imagine a lot of times when you're checking that box, you don't even get a call back. So one of the ways to kind of get around that and to rise above that is to start your own business, and then to employ people with criminal justice touch points and background in their lives when they get out. So we actually do have a couple of builders that have started their own businesses. They're, as you can imagine, they're usually service-based, low startup kind of companies, things like auto mechanics, house painting, janitorial services, things like that. But again, we also have reentry services, which really kind of sets Rise apart from a lot of the other Nebraska nonprofits that have in-prison programming. Once you graduate Rise, that's just the beginning. We are there to walk alongside you and to really identify the individual needs that our participants have upon their release from prison. So in Nebraska, when you do serve your sentence and you parole or you walk out of a facility, you're handed a $100 check. No matter if you've been there for 50 years or for 5 months, that's what you get. But you're not allowed to have a driver's license or a bank account or anything else while you're incarcerated. So you are now out, you are handed this check. You don't know where to cash it. You might not have a means of transportation, a place to live, all these things. They're all individual to that person and their situation. However, it can be extremely challenging, even in the best case circumstances, to go through reentry and to navigate a job and housing and things like that. So Rise has reentry staff that walks alongside each one of these people and really plugs them into the resources and the community to make sure that all of their basic needs are being met. That's something that's very unique to our organization and something that we are very proud of. We're really humbled to be able to walk alongside people during this very vulnerable and challenging time in their lives and to just help them to be successful. So that's what we are passionate about in a nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to Eduardo, and he can tell you a little bit about employment and what that looks like. And then we would love to answer your questions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. Chantal, thank you. Thank you for that. We at Rise are very passionate about second chance hiring. Like Chantal said, my name is Eduardo, and I'm the employment specialist for Rise. I basically, I will reinforce, and you'll hear me use the word builders a lot. We refer to our program participants or our Rise graduates as builders. I will take what our builders have learned in the in-prison program and reinforce that by updating the resumes, taking them through things like interview coaching, establishing career goals, and really providing them with employment options with companies that we've established relationships with. I support our builders by guiding them through that employment process, as well as checking in on them, emotionally. You can imagine that a lot of our individuals have either never applied for jobs, never job hunted, right? And if they have a very limited work experience. So really checking in on them and making them feel comfortable to have both their hands on the reins of their employment is very important to Rise. I always say one of the best things about being able to assist our individuals is that we've known them for a very long time, right? If they're in our program, we've gotten to know them for maybe 6 to 9 months. And with that, we are able to vouch for them, right? We're not just sending any person with a criminal background to your organizations, to your businesses. We've really gotten to know them through their transformation. Perhaps the best way to lower recidivism and improve Nebraska's communities as a whole is, like Chantal said, it's through employment. It's a very foundational aspect to improving all of our lives and ensuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't lost when considering the formerly incarcerated. Rise feels very strongly that by hiring Rise graduates, businesses are able to strengthen their workforce, reduce recruitment and training costs, boost retention by tapping into this very large pool of potential employees, and quite honestly with a greater loyalty sometimes, because these individuals aren't facing large opportunity options here. I mean, once they get in somewhere, they're going to be dedicated and very loyal to the opportunities that are given to them. By partnering with organizations, we've been able to lower our unemployment rate to 5%, which is actually 1.9% lower than the US unemployment rate as a whole. By partnering with companies we feel like would be a mutually great fit for our builders. People in HR positions have been comfortable calling me or our reentry specialists with any questions they have about a Rise graduate. Hiring managers call me when their hiring season is about to begin, which is super great because it lets me know that I've formulated a great relationship and they're comfortable with our people being sent to them. But ultimately, like I said, the more we're helping the community and state, and speaking to how businesses can support our Rise graduates, businesses can practice empathetic interviewing to view all applicants for the person they are today and not for who they were. That's a little bit about what I do and how I support our builders. I know that's kind of a lot of information in a short amount of time, so I'm happy to take any questions you have about employing Rise graduates.
Just a little side note I wanted to add, and I believe Eduardo will be fine with me sharing this, but both Eduardo and I were formerly incarcerated. I was actually incarcerated at the Nebraska Correctional Center for Women in York for 13 and a half years. I have been out on parole now for 18 months, and I'm also a graduate of the RISE program. So RISE really practices what they preach. I was hired to work for the nonprofit when I got to the Community Corrections Center in Omaha and was able to go out and to secure employment, in the real world on the outside. So I myself have been extremely fortunate compared to a lot of my brothers and sisters that have been incarcerated, my peers, if you will. I didn't have to go through that awkward, filling out an application and speaking to a future employer about the fact that I have a felony conviction. So again, I've had best case scenario, and I'm just extremely excited every day to be able to give back to an organization that not only has helped me, but continues to help me as I navigate my reentry. Eduardo also, he can speak to the fact that he was incarcerated and his experience.
Thank you, Chantal. Yeah, I'm a incredibly big believer in things coming full circle. You know, I oftentimes will joke that I may not have been incarcerated as long as some of my coworkers, but my sentencing was more in the employment field. I was released and on parole, completed my parole at 20, which was 11 years ago. And I can tell you that every bit of the last decade was a struggle to find any form of employment, and really a struggle to find any form of value and worth in my life, let alone in my employment and career field. And getting to do what I do now and helping, like Chantal said, our brothers and sisters find that employment, because it is not only with our formerly incarcerated population, but with anyone as a whole, such a foundational level to improving your quality of life. The last 10 years has been quite a journey in navigating the workforce and navigating how to interview, navigating how to fill out a resume, and honestly, just navigating the entire workforce as a whole. So could speak for a lengthy amount of time on all of that. So if I really want to open it up to questions in the volunteer aspect for Chantal and employment related as well, if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. How many builders do you have in the population at any one time that are going through the transition?
Oh, that's a great question, Jesse. Thank you so much. So we are an organization that is 4 years old. We were 4 years old in February. We have over 600 participants and graduates at our program at this time. We have 180 or so that are actually out of the prison facilities and in the community. As you can imagine, this last year, given the pandemic, we have not stopped our programming. It is still happening in all of our 7 facilities. However, it's been taking longer to get our participants through the program due to lockdowns, due to quarantines and things of that nature. And the Department of Corrections here in Nebraska has also limited our class size due to having, safe social distancing within the prisons for people together for their programs. So right now, our biggest cohort is 23 men at the Nebraska State Penitentiary in Lincoln, where we usually have, cohorts anywhere from 40 to 45 at a time. And we usually do 2 cohorts a year, being the 6-month program. Right now, this last year, it's been taking anywhere from 6 to 9 months to get through our program. And we've only been allowed to have anywhere from, depending on the facility, 10 to maybe at the most 20 individuals in our class at a time. So this year we did not graduate as many, but just the fact that we've actually graduated over 50 people during the pandemic was a huge a feat that we're extremely excited about. Peer facilitators, we don't turn away from our program. So it doesn't matter if someone is there on a life sentence or is just there for a year, everyone is welcome to take our program. So we in turn then invite people with life sentences or long-term sentences to come back and to help facilitate the class. And I have to be honest, they have really stepped up this year and ensured that our program was still moving forward when we could not physically be there due to the lockdowns. So right now, like I said, we're looking at I've taken over 800 individuals as volunteers into the Nebraska prison system in the last 4 years. Somehow I was able to get over 200 new volunteers during this last year that have been volunteering on a virtual platform. So, we're just like you guys, we're scrambling every day to come up with new and creative ideas to just keep moving forward. And a lot of it is still proving to be very helpful and supportive and successful. So we're really proud of that. But 180 in the community that are out working.
180 in the community working, but you have 600 in the population that from start to finish total. Yeah. And you have cohorts that typically are 20 to 45 people at a time. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Just out of pure curiosity, I'm curious about demographics. What is the typical age, gender? Like what are the demographics of this population?
Yeah, so I couldn't break down those numbers for you, but our programs associates could, the ones that, we could probably pull those reports. But I can tell you, there is one women's facility in Nebraska. So it does not matter if you have a minimum crime or a maximum level crime. If you are a female in the state of Nebraska and are sentenced to a state prison sentence, you go to York. So there, the population runs anywhere from about 320 to 360, 380 on any given day. So there are cohorts, they'll usually run about 25, 30 women is what we have each time there. That was our last facility that we actually started our cohort in. I was in the first. So that was in 2017. So sorry, Hattie wants to talk to y'all too. There's somebody at the door. So anyway, excuse me. We're all over the board when it comes to age, when it comes to race, when it comes to people that participate in our program, education levels, because that's what the prison population is made up in Nebraska. We have men and women that are coming in from the youth detention center and are starting our program at 19 years old. We have men and women that have been incarcerated for a long length of time that are taking our program that are in their 50s and 60s. And when it comes down to breaking down the numbers of race, I really don't have those numbers in front of me. However, Nebraska, unfortunately, we historically incarcerate people of color at a historically high rate, even though they make up a low number and percentage of our population in the state. However, Caucasians are still going to be the number one race that is in our class, just because they do make up the highest number of people that are incarcerated in Nebraska. But we have a high number of Hispanic and Black men and women that take our program. So obviously women make up the smallest amount of that number, because we serve 6 men's facilities and then the only 1 female. So but age and race and gender, it's just kind of, it's all over the board. We're a mixed bag. We're very diverse.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story too.
I just had a couple of questions for you guys, just for the better of the group. The businesses, Eduardo, do you guys keep a list of businesses? So if somebody on the call today, either their business themselves will hire somebody that has had an incarceration, or know somebody else that could, can they reach out to you and get on a list and say hey, if you have somebody graduating the program and they're looking for employment, you can reach out to us?
Absolutely. Great question, Alicia. Yeah. So the first part of my role there is, like I said, to be partnering with businesses that are open to that second chance. And as soon as they, that organization, that person in HR, the recruiter, and I have had that conversation, absolutely, they go right into my database of employers, and then that relationship begins. And if we have a RISE graduate that is open to that type of employment, and they obviously go through the interview process and both sides do their due diligence, then absolutely that funneling to that organization would begin.
Perfect. We do what we call talent surveys at the chamber, and so that is one of the questions that we ask, is if businesses are able to hire somebody with a criminal background. And so I'd be willing to do a circle back for you guys and just kind of give them some information on your organization and say, hey, if you're still looking for workforce and open to it, here's somebody that you could reach out to maybe build a relationship with. And then you said that there are 180 Chantel individuals right now that are working. Can you tell us a little bit about the percentage of reincarceration rate once somebody has a job? Do you see them re-entering the system?
I'll take the first part of that, and then Eduardo can talk about the statistics as far as our program and our employment statistics and minimum wage, average wage of our participants. So in the state of Nebraska, 1 in 3 people are going to recidivate. That means they are going to commit another crime and go back to prison. And that's a really big number. So you're really looking at, 33% of people that are incarcerated are going to go back. And that's for, if you think about it, if you're a pilot and your business is to fly a plane and 1 in 3 of your planes is going to crash, I mean, that would not be okay. That would not be acceptable. We would all be looking at that, and there would be some answering to do. Unfortunately, in the state of Nebraska, this has just been status quo for many, many years, that 1 in 3 people are going to go back. We are very passionate about as a matter of fact, our mission statement and our vision is to help all people find freedom from the cycles of incarceration. Because what we are finding in our communities is that it's a generational thing in a lot of cases. It's what neighborhood you grew up in, what's the color of your skin? Did your parents, were they incarcerated? I mean, 1 in 7 kids are going to go to prison if their parent was incarcerated. I mean, the numbers in our state are they're staggering. So yeah, I'll let Eduardo then tell you about the contrast to our graduates and what they're experiencing.
Alicia, could you please repeat that second part of your question for me, please?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, out of those that graduate your program and actually find employment, like what's the percentage of them that then stay out of being, out of the system, that do not go back to repeat crime?
So I believe our recidivism rate is at 8%. I think it was 8% in 2019 or 2018, and 2019 might have been 7%, I believe. And like I said, that all of that just goes back to employment. And we actually, I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but there is a high percentage that if an individual doesn't find employment right out of, within the first 90 days, that's sort of our critical point, is the first 90 days, 60 days of post-release. If you can find employment, then the recidivism rate dramatically decreases.
Yeah, 94% of our graduates are employed at a medium wage of $15 an hour or higher. And that's something that we're extremely proud of. We would love to see that $15 an hour be a little higher, but we're so proud that it's higher than the minimum wage. 15 is kind of where we set a goal for ourselves as an organization, that is like what would be needed for someone to be able to support themselves right now in our economy. So we're really proud. 94% of those 180, I think it's 183 to be exact. And, and of course that's changing every month with people getting on parole and being released. So we're pretty proud of that.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Does anybody else have any other questions for them or for Cindy? Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Then I want to thank you guys for presenting. We will be sending out the slides for all of this to you guys, as well as the video that you guys could not hear for the ACT, in case you want to get registered with that program. We will send out Chantel's Rise video or slideshows and Cindy's slideshows, so you guys can reach out to them if you have any further questions. You guys will receive again the invitation to Maze Lunch and Learn. And Maze Lunch and Learn, I apologize, I have all these papers in front of me. Maze Lunch and Learn is going to be, our sponsor is Correction Area Agency on Aging, with Kelly Butts. And Kelly Butts really works in the senior employment world. So if you guys are looking to maybe backfill some of your employment and you're like, where can we look, this is a great opportunity to partner with them to get some awesome associates into your building. And then our guest speaker is actually going to be from Harm's D&I committee. They're going to talk with you a little bit about making sure that you've got a really good D&I program in your workforce and what that looks like. And I appreciate you guys at Rise spoke about that is not just of color or sexual orientation, that also is of those that have maybe a criminal background. Of course, inclusivity means everybody. It doesn't mean picking categories and saying that those are the ones that we're looking at. We want to actually be all inclusive and include everybody in the workforce and in our community. So we're excited to hear from them coming up. You will also receive your invitation for that Healthy Hometown workplace. Of course, we all know that we spend a large portion of our waking hours at work. And if we can just influence the behaviors that our associates have at home, it is going to affect them, or at work, it's going to affect them in their home life. And we want to make sure that we are providing a robust and healthy community for all. And so I encourage you to join us for that call if you can, and share that with anybody you think that would be interested and would like to come to the table. Otherwise, Drew, I will turn it over to you for any last remarks.
The only thing I would say, I see they had to jump off, but I wanted to thank our presenters. That was really good information. That's something that I've always kind of been interested in, and we've seen it in the past in in Nebraska and in Iowa, that's really a population that you should be looking at as well, because there is a critical demographic within the incarcerated population that have some demonstrable skills once they come out that can help the workforce. So that was definitely very good information, and we thank them for their time, and we thank everyone for your time and support of the Workforce Collaborative and participating in the Lunch and Learns. And with that, I will turn it back over to Alicia.
Thank you so much, Drew. And I actually can firsthand contest. I used to run a hotel, and I would hire directly out of the halfway house, and some of my best, most reliable associates that would then turn into leaders and department managers for my building came from being incarcerated to working. And then I'm proud to say I know a number of them that now have very robust management positions in our community and that are participating in our community. So definitely something to consider, or to share that information with somebody that you know. And again, thank you guys for being with us, and we will hopefully see you guys next week and then next month. Bye, guys.